Okay, ich bin Kanadier, aber spreche auch Deutsch. Heute werde ich aber die ganze Geschichte mal auf Englisch erzählen. Are there any other Canadians in the crowd? Some right here. Very good. They're with me. This is talking about market insights and an introduction of CaniBrands, which is the company that I work for. And the title is actually something a little bit different. It's about the North American hemp and cannabis market and the Canadian perspective on that market. I have a couple of different things that I'd like to talk about. This is already not working. The first topic is about some industry insights, some interesting numbers about what's going on with respect to the trends. Then I want to talk about the markets, in particular the California market, the Canadian market, and the USA-wide market, and then talk about our company a little bit to give you a perspective of what we're about and why we're here today. This is an interesting bar chart slide. You can see the dark blue at the top is the THC recreational market in the US. On the low end, it's the medical market. This is about THC. As you can see, the THC recreational market is going to double from this year, 2019, at $6 billion estimated to about $12 billion. It's a massive market. This is another very interesting slide in terms of some very macro level numbers. What you see here is the price per pound for cannabis, and below you see the dropping price. If you look at Colorado, for instance, it dropped by almost 1/3 last year. Flower is essentially a race to the bottom. It's a commodity. This is another look at what this commodity is all about. If you look at up on the top left, the price 4 years ago, if you will, a little bit over 4 years ago, and where flower has gone to. Flower has gone down by about 40%, almost half the price. Moving into cultivation is interesting, but it's a commodity, and we have a lot of it globally. When you look at edibles up at the top, that's where things start becoming interesting because this is all about infused products. You see some of them here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's going on in California, where everything is legal. It's the largest legal THC market in the world. This slide is a way of looking at the entire industry and what's going on. So this is suggested to be a value chain. At the bottom you see cultivation and phase one. That's what everybody was doing, growing. The level up above, a little bit more value, and that's about the science and technology, from extraction to formulation. I can talk to you about biosynthesis. We can today make THC or a variety of cannabinoids out of sugar, yeast, and water. That's all you need. So think about that a little bit, because by next year this is going to be commercially available. And then you think about big pharma coming in. That's very likely a play that they're going to make. I'm not going to say that all of our plants are going to become obsolete, but you need to be thinking about where chemistry is going. The next level up is what's happening today, productization and distribution. Everybody's trying to get to market before the big guys come in. Little brands, family brands, small businesses, we see a lot of them here. We think that the market is going to change and get to the top layer. So our company is coming from the top down versus bottom up. We have nothing to do with cultivation. We're very interested in the digitization of this industry, and we're thinking about consumer packaged goods. You need to understand the consumer, and you need to be outcome driven. Okay, so what's going on in California? It's pretty messy there. When you're a company operating in California, you need to pivot. Things change all the time. I've got 5 things I want to talk to you about: regulation, the growth, margin, competitors, and manufacturing. You can sort of read the words yourself, but there are multiple legal opinions. I talk to 10 different lawyers, and I probably get 10 different answers. There are unrealistic rules. I can tell you, this is a THC vape pen. I now have to put on the cartridge as of last month a 1 by 1 centimeter sign that says California THC. It makes no sense. It's not realistic because you can't see what's in the cartridge anymore. So new regulations come out all the time. We end up with bankruptcies because smaller companies that have invested in particular packaging now need new packaging, and $250,000 is gone, and they can't replace that money. Flower I spoke about, a race to the bottom. Margin, also very interesting. In the retail environment, this pen, for me to make it with a 0.5 gram of THC in it, I get the pen, the hardware, for $3 in China. By the time I put a package around it and I put some oil into it, it cost me $15. I sell it for $15, which is a little bit insane, but it's a brand building exercise. And then you see the $50 sign there. By the time it gets to the consumer, you guys pay $50 for it. Interesting, huh? It's not a good business. There are a lot of competitors, a lot of small companies. Big companies are not in there yet. They're looking to build brands. Some of them go bankrupt. Some of them will succeed. Our strategy is to buy small brands with really good people that have some revenue in market that we can scale. And then lastly, on manufacturing, there is some really bad stuff out there. It's not GMP, quality control. When you think somebody making a topical cream, they should be wearing gloves, right? I've seen a lot without gloves. They should be wearing hair mesh nets. Not happening. There are some really good ones on the good manufacturing practices, but there's some really scary stuff out there. It's a little bit of the wild, wild west out in California, and it's going to change over time, in particular because big companies are going to come in and they're going to play the quality control card. So that's the view of what's going on in California. If you look at the USA-wide market, there's a thing called the U.S. Farm Bill. In the past, the hemp plant and the cannabis plant from a regulatory environment were married. The Farm Act passed by Congress in December decoupled hemp and cannabis. So hemp is the new big thing, and it's completely legal in 46 out of 50 states. Look at the market size. Last year it was $660 million. There's a forecast, and I've seen a few of them, but up to $22 billion over the next 4 years. That's a big number. And that is almost double of what you saw early on the THC side. There's a lot going on. Does anybody know Martha Stewart? There's a Martha Stewart CBD brand. Everybody is going in. It's everywhere in the news. That's CD. The margins are astronomical. I don't have it here with me, but I can make a 3-ounce, call it 100 milliliter cream, and I can make it for $6, $8 with the packaging and everything else. Probably some SG&A costs. By the end of the day, I sell that thing for $60. So think about that. Those margins are going to come down and they'll be compressed, but for the moment, there's a significant play there. Big guys are going to come in. They've already come in particular on the beverage side, and it's going to change the environment. This is a massive global play, and the big players want a big chunk of it, and they're just waiting their time. They're also investing in licensed producers, so there's a lot of activity going on in this space. Canada. Okay, Canada is legal, right? And everybody is saying Canada, Canada. It's not really all legal. All you can do there as a consumer today is you can buy flower and you can buy pre-rolled. There are no beverages, no topicals, no edible gummy bears, so you can get stoned. None of that. What we're trying to do is avoid mistakes that have been made by others, in particular California, and we're phasing in products as they become available. So summer is coming up. We believe that beverages will become available in Canada in June. Currently, they aren't available in California, but making a quality beverage is very, very difficult. If I tell you that I put 10 milligrams of THC into that beverage, how can you be sure? Or that I put 10 milligrams into a little gummy bear so that you can get stoned. some pretty dangerous stuff out there, in particular when I talk to you about the manufacturing. So a long way to go until these products are 100% what you believe them to be. We are highly restrictive around marketing. When I show you a package of what we currently do, which is some super colorful stuff, that is not legal in Canada. And it's not legal because they want it to be very generic, agnostic. They don't want to attract it to anyone underage. And so very strict regulations in Canada. And it's an interesting market in terms of how it's going to develop. THC CBD only legal via government-regulated retail dispensaries. Now, get this. In Ontario, which is where I'm from, Toronto, there are about 20 million people running around in Ontario. We have 25 licensed retail dispensaries in Ontario. It's sort of a little bit of insanity. We're legal, but you can't get at it. We have supply chain problems. It is a very interesting market itself in terms of Canada on its own compared to California. So we're very immature, but we're slowly getting there. Big licensed producers, I don't know who you know, but Canopy Growth, for instance, one of the largest companies, Afria in the world, they had a retail strategy. They've been diminished to saying, unless you have a growing operation somewhere, you're not allowed to do any other retail. So you can have one retail outlet per your, where you're growing your plants. Big problem, which gets me sort of to the last bullet. Licensed producers that are making flowers are trying to get up that value chain. They're finding the right people from consumer packaged goods. They're finding expertise to be able to build a business and scale it. Okay, a little bit about us. We are a startup generating revenue. We're going to be generating somewhere between $15 to $20 million in revenue this year. We are about the consumer and an outcome. You want to sleep, you want to boost, you want to do something else other than drink coffee in the morning, you want to get stoned, you want to freshen up. A lot of different varieties of things that you can do with CBD and with THC. And then we provide it in different forms. So whether it's something that you can smoke, whether it's a cream, you want to rub it on. Believe it or not, we make sprays. Very incognito in the purse. Lots of different forms that we do as CaniBrands. I'm not going to go through this slide. It gives you a perspective of who we are. So my background is not THC or CBD. I'm a corporate guy. And we think there's a ton of room for corporate strategies and corporate business practices to take advantage of what's going on in this market. We also have deep experience and pedigree in the cannabis space with licensed producers, so we have a very strong network around that. We are headquartered in California, in the Bay Area, and we have licenses in California, which is sort of ground zero for us. It's global growth in CBD and THC. We're looking to be public by the end of this year, which is, this industry goes unbelievably fast, and this would be very difficult to have a conversation about going public within a year, but that's what we're after. This industry is a little bit, as I said, insane. We're about the consumer multiple outcomes I spoke about. We have what we believe to be great people, great brands, and we're very much into this value chain from the top down. Digitization, digital marketing. We're working with high-profile ambassadors, celebrities, to be able to put our product out to the market. It's essentially something that I just told you, but we look at six different things. So what are we doing from a business market strategy point of view? What are the customers and what are the segments that we're going after? All of you are not the same, and somebody might be attracted to this. I have other brands that some others may be attracted to. We're very, very heavy on technology platforms. We think it's underutilized in this industry. We're all about good manufacturing practice, and we're about the next thing, science and innovation. We think there's a lot of room to build good products. Here's an example of some of our products. So we have 3 brands at the moment. You see what I spoke about at the top. At the moment, the company is called CaniBrands, but we will have a different name, and it's a holdco type name, and then the brands will be lying underneath. So we've got 22 SKUs in the THC world and 32 SKUs in the CBD world. You can see some of the categories down on the right. We do both full spectrum and isolate. We do formulations that also deliver, for instance, vitamin B12 with a particular cannabinoid. We extract and isolate CBN. CBN is the sleepy cannabinoid. I'll tell you, it works. So there's different formulations, and this business has barely begun. I mean, I think we've got about 120 cannabinoids out there that have been identified by science, but we don't really know. It's wide open. This is a company that we bought. I put this slide up there because I think it's kind of cool. It's a completely different brand than this, and it's a high-quality, full-spectrum vape pen, which is a market that is growing significantly. Full spectrum, there's different experiences, so I don't know if anybody knows about indica and sativa, but indica is a very mellow couch potato type oil. Sativa is one that gives you more of a boost and you want to do things. And then you can put different things into it, and all of a sudden you've got some very interesting formulations. So that's a very different brand. MedMen is probably the highest quality retailer in California. Very, very cool brand, and we're connected with MedMen on a distribution agreement. So, operating strategy, interesting slide. We have multiple brands up at the top speaking to multiple segments. This one here is an interesting one, seniors and aging well. Seniors don't really want to go into a dispensary, but they like the idea about THC. And so we have distribution forms to get to seniors. CBD, if you know what it can do and what it does, it's unbelievable and very helpful for seniors. When you think about athletes have a lot of anxiety. They've got a lot of sleep issues. They've got sore knees. There's a lot going on with athletes, and we work closely with athletes and have a line that's developing for high performance. And then we make a bunch of different products in the middle, and they look different to the average consumer. But this product here, this spray for mending, I can put a different wrapper on it, use the same vessel, put a different wrapper on it, put the same stuff in it, and I speak to a completely different segment. So it's very simple on the inside and differentiated on the outside. And we think that's a play that is going to bear benefits for us down the road. Lots of different categories at the bottom. Okay, this is a basic view of where we operate in California. You'll notice San Francisco here. So this is all probably within an hour and a half, 2 hours drive, if you will. We have my job as the Chief Commercial Officer, which is essentially the Chief Operating Officer, is to stitch a network of providers together. If you lived my world, you'd be not sleeping very much, but these are just some of them. We manufacture up here in Sacramento, and we manufacture up in Santa Rosa, very nice area, Napa Valley. But Napa Valley is not interested in THC, which is too bad, because I think wine and THC would be a good marriage in Napa Valley, but we'll get there, and they'll get there. Lots going on in terms of where we are. Let me carry on here and talk a little bit about our growth strategy. So this is not rocket science. This is about either buying, which I said we made some acquisitions, very targeted. It's about partnering. We're looking for some partners here over the past 3 days in terms of moving into the European market. And then it's about building. And building means intellectual and proprietary assets. So in particular on the e-commerce platform, we've built what we think is a very cool platform that'll allow us to grow very deep into the digital part of the equation. This is a confusing slide probably, but I'll talk you through it. What you see here is what we do. So we deal with podcasts, we deal with precision digital campaigns. So think about, I can draw a geofence around this particular event, and I can see everybody that's here based on their cellular ID. So now I can find some information out about you. I can actually find out what your income is based on where you go every night and sleep. I also know if you're female or male. I probably don't know your name. I know I don't know your name, but I know everything else about you. I also know about how you might want to receive the information on your phone, or how I can optimize the click-through rate once I give you a coupon for 35% off at ABC company down on the corner. It becomes really interesting. Nobody's doing that in the CBD THC space. So this is leveraging technology to the maximum. I should have geofenced this thing. I forgot about it. Okay, so awareness, consideration. This is really the holy grail, creating advocacy for your product. You can see here is a couple of things, like this is a very surprising units by product type. We haven't been in market very long, but sprays are our largest sellers. You can see here from an outcome-based, sleeping is a huge global problem. I don't know what the global over-the-counter and medical market is for, but it's $1 trillion, something like that, for sleep aids. It is massive. I have a sleep pen here, and it works really well, and it is not, it's natural. We have an endocannabinoid system, and the hemp and cannabis plant is married to our endocannabinoid system. How many people know that you have an endocannabinoid system? Okay, not bad. That's less than 5%. That's a high number. I would say there's less than 1% in the global population that has any idea what that thing is. But it's natural. So you're not dealing with opioids. Athletes are not dealing with medical support. They can use CBD. So here's a couple of people that we work with as ambassadors. You see a guy by the name of Paul Bissonnette. He has he's got 1.2 million Twitter followers, and he has a weekly podcast that has 500,000 people zooming in on that podcast. Very interesting audience. A lot of people listen to this guy, and when he does readouts for us, we get a high spike in sales. There's a guy down here by the name of Andy O'Brien. Pittsburgh Penguins, anybody know? No. NHL, anybody heard of? National Hockey League? Okay. This guy is best friends with a guy by the name of Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby, probably the most well-known ice hockey player in the world. These guys are behind our brand. There's a woman down on the right, looking pretty fit, Dara Torres. She's the most decorated female swim athlete for the US. I don't know how many medals she's got, but she's got a lot more than probably anybody else in this entire building. She supports, as an ambassador, our brand. So this is how you generate following and create advocacy, and that's a core play for us. Okay, I'm getting to the end here. You see some bullets on the top left. I spoke about that a little bit. Investors and the financial markets are not really going after growers anymore. They're going after different objectives. They're interested in consumer packaged goods, great brands. They love the US play because it's a booming, growing market. Broad distribution, you need to be able to scale from a manufacturing perspective, and you need to have a pretty solid management team. There are a lot of people, when you go to the financial markets, that see a lot of people coming through with cannabis ideas, but most of them don't know what they're doing, and I say that respectfully. It's an interesting market, but you need to have some very high-end business context. Lastly, here's some valuations of smaller companies. So you can see a share price. I'll pick one of them, and this is Plus. So look at this valuation, 2.5 million USD Q3 last year. Let's say they had 10 million in total revenue. Look at that valuation, 12 times. So look at their share price, having gone from 762 to 506. So why is that? They have one product, and it's a really sexy product, and it's a gummy bear. But that's not what people are after anymore. They're after multiple products, multiple categories, multiple outcomes, and not just getting stoned, but it's about wellness and health. And so they're taking a hit at the moment, but you can see the valuations. This is a crazy business. We think there's going to be some sort of correction, but slowly it will happen. Okay, this is our website, e-commerce. I'm sad to say we can't sell into Europe, but please go there and have a look. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.